My question is about credibility of data. So sometimes we have one and another and they don't match up. So which one do you use for your decisions?
Yeah, no, you're very right. And one of the things, that we have to celebrate about the Paris Agreement is that it is policy that is science-driven, data-driven. And that doesn't always happen with international treaties. And that was a huge effort to make sure that policy development was driven by the necessities of science. And with respect to data, I think it's maybe helpful to think of the data in two sets, okay? One set is the data set that is provided by scientists, mostly through something that is called the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, hundreds of scientists from every country of the world who collectively develop the latest analysis on what are the climate impacts that we're already observing and what are the projections into the next few decades as to what will happen if we follow several different scenarios. So that is what I would call the modeling data, because they take the data that we have and they model forward. So that's very important to understand what are the implications. If we go this way with the text, what are the implications? If we go that way, what are the implications? So that's very important. The other set of data doesn't come from scientists. It's actually the on-the-ground data that is provided by governments with respect to the emissions that they are having on their own territory. And that's called the inventory, and every country is obliged to present the data from their own countries and from sector by sector, and to report that once a year to the convention. Now, the way the Secretariat of the Convention deals with that data is that we actually send an international team of experts who go not to every single country, but randomly. We do random checks to the countries to make sure that that data is correct. And interestingly enough, over time, because countries have been doing this for 20 years, over time there was always quite a big, or not always, but often there was a big difference between the data that was reported and the data that the international experts thought was correct. And then they worked through that difference. Now, everybody has understood the methodology better, and now there's very, very little difference between the data that is reported and the expert analysis. So as a whole, we've gotten very, very good at reporting emissions, and that allows us to really have a pretty good sense year by year as to where we are with emissions.